Hello, welcome back to the Piping Pastor, Back Porch Edition. Well, today, enjoying some cold brew coffee with my Capstan Navy Cut and my Whitluck Ebony pipe. And as you can see, it's a lovely day today here in Maryland. My wife has rearranged the furniture on the back porch to make better use of the space. It may not surprise you to realize that I put the furniture out here to begin with, and it was not in the ideal placement. So I have bowed to her superior wisdom on the subject, and actually it has worked out rather nicely. But for no other reason, of course, than to give a better view out back than the siding on my house. Well, I thought today I would talk about pipe collecting, or my view of pipe collecting. I mentioned that briefly in my last video. Because I know that, several of you in the YTPC have dozens and dozens of pipes, and I've only got the 4. And there's a bit of a story behind that. I first started smoking a pipe while I lived in Scotland. And I had 1 pipe and 1 tobacco. I would not refer to myself as a codger piper. Because it wasn't like I was, smoking a gray bill pipe with half and half in it. I had a Peterson pipe that I received as a gift. And as most new pipe smokers do, I went to a local tobacco shop to figure out what to put in it. I had a general idea about pipe smoke. I enjoyed the aroma of pipe smoke from various people, but there was never anyone in my family who were pipe smokers. There were cigarette smokers, occasional cigars, but no one who smoked a pipe. And I shared a bit of that story as well. That it was Basil Rathbone, in particular, his the black and white Sherlock Holmes series, his depiction of Sherlock Holmes, and that really drew me to pipe smoking. So in any case, happily, because I lived in Scotland at the time in Edinburgh, there were a few brick and mortar tobacconists around. It's a bit more popular over there than it is here. So I went to a local store and was like, look, hey, I got this pipe, and I want to get some tobacco for it. Happily, for me anyway, the tobacconist was kind of an old school person. Usually when you have someone who's new to pipe smoking, they get advised to start with a aromatic. They get pointed to, a black cherry wine, raspberries and cream, chocolate, something else like that, to kind of ease them into it. Because, by and large, aromatics are really, they're not real bold in the manner of tobacco, right? It's usually, cigar leaf or Cavendish or something else like that. So it's not real intense, and the toppings take center stage, as they should do. That's what an aromatic is for. Um, but this tobacconist was not of that mindset. In point of fact, I'm trying to remember. I don't think he had any aromatics that he made. He blended he had his own blends going, and had them in big jars. Had a few tins, but I don't think he sold any aromatics at all. He may have done. I just don't remember. So I'm like, okay. I go there and I'm like, okay, I need a tobacco. Well, he offers me this English blend that he had. I didn't know what an English blend was at the time or anything about it, but he let me smell it, and it smelled wonderful. It smelled to me like what I thought pipe smoke should smell like. And I know now that it was a blend of Latakia, Virginias, and Cavendish. And I liked the campfirey kind of earthy kind of smell of it, and it smelled appropriate. So that's the tobacco I got. So I had my pipe, I had my tobacco, and that's it. I smoked that tobacco out of that pipe because I brought it home and tried it and loved it, thought it was great. And so for years, I smoked one tobacco out of one pipe. I was like, what else do I need? Right? I loved the pipe. It was a Peterson, so it was clinchable and it was stylish. It looked nice and it smoked really well, easy to clean, and I loved the tobacco I had. So just didn't think about it. Well, then a few years ago, when we moved back to the United States, I went and I was like, look, hey, I'm moving back to the States. Is there any way I can get this tobacco over there? And this was around the time when the deeming regulations were first coming out. And no one was really sure kind of where they were going to go, what they were going to lead to. It just, I mean, it put fear in a lot of people that they were going to lose their favorite blends. And sadly, that ended up happening in many cases. But it also put people in questioning, how it was going to work with the whole buying and selling tobacco, transporting tobacco, and so on and so forth. And he was unsure about what the rules were going to look like and what things like that might mean. And I was unsure. And it's like, oh, I don't want to come back with 4 pounds of tobacco in my suitcase and then find out that I've been accused of illegally transporting tobacco or something else like that. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll have to find something else because there's no online presence for this tobacco store. There was no website, let alone a way to order online. So once I moved away, I knew I was not going to get that tobacco anymore. And so I asked him, what are some options, and he gave me a couple of Peterson brands that were similar to kind of like what he blended. He's like, you can try these out. So I found myself here back in the States, and I had to start experimenting to see what kind of tobaccos would at least be somewhat similar to the tobacco that I've been enjoying for years over there in Scotland. And as such, I started trying a bunch of different stuff. And then I was like, well, you know what? While I'm trying this, I might as well try straight Virginia. I might as well try a Balkan mixture. I might as well try this Three Nuns tobacco because I love the historical connection. All these different things, and I was like, when I started, really getting into it, I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I mean, I enjoyed the one tobacco, one pipe I had for years, but it was as if I had been eating the same meal over and over again because it covered all my nutritional values and I found it tasty. And I was just introduced to a buffet. And so that's what kind of began my wider array of tobacco choices. And then following on from that, I was like, well, you know what? I want to try some different kinds of pipes too. I want to try pipes made out of different materials and different shapes. And I found that I kind of like that as well. So while I don't think I'll ever have the dozens and dozens of pipes, um, as I said, I think my next pipe I'm going to try to find one that was produced in the year of my birth. So and some kind of a straight form like a Canadian because I really like the straight pipes really quite a bit, and I've only got the one. Um, but in any case, that's where I'm at, and that's why it's just a handful of pipes. So I want to encourage you though through this that even though you may be content and satisfied with where you're at in your current tobacco rotation or with your pipe style or something else like that, even if you've done the same thing for years, if you have an 8 blend rotation, it's been the same blend rotation for 10 years because it works for you and you like it, by all means keep that. But every once in a while, it's kind of a good thing to get pushed out of your comfort zone and try something new. I mean, for me, I was literally pushed out of my comfort zone. I was literally placed in a position where I couldn't get the stuff that I normally had, so I was kind of forced into experimenting with variety. But it ended up being a real blessing. So, in any case, that is it for this time. I'm going to turn my attention back to my capstan navy cut here and enjoy the rest of my sunny afternoon with my iced coffee. The mention of eschatology has placed or has generated, I should say, quite a few comments on the last video. So I know several of you are looking forward to that discussion, and I am looking forward to recording some of those videos. So probably over the next week. I think my schedule's light next week, and then it ramps right back up again. So I'm hoping to get one or two of those recorded next week, and we will start beginning our discussion of end times theology. So until then, have a wonderful week. As always, happy reading.